And we welcome you all to this session. We are sorry for changes which were due to circumstances beyond our control. We are glad that we are at least up to it now, and we are now good to go. Today is monkeypox, and I'm sure a lot of us are interested, not just for our knowledge, but to make sure that we can mitigate and then know what the global status is all about. We will just take some. My name is Dr. Abimbola Shuwandi, and the current chair of NSIC, Nigerian Society for Infection Control. So that might change very soon, but at least for now. So now let's just go through some housekeeping agenda. Can I have the housekeeping? Let's just run through as we welcome, and hopefully others will join us soon. This is the agenda with the timeline. Right now is welcome and introductions, which we're going to do very soon. We're going to do introduction after this welcome. And then we have our erudite Professor Vincent Rotimi taking us on understanding the monkeypox virus and the mitigation measures. Thereafter, we have another a microbiologist with specialty on virology to take us on the global and local monkeypox outbreak and the updates. And there's going to be a case presentation, which we call spotlight session, for improvements in IPC practices at the Jos University Teaching Hospital. Jos in the northeastern part of the country, about 2 hours flight away. Miss Tina Jamberlang will take us through that. And then subsequently, we will note our comments and things to talk about. And we'll have discussions, we'll have feedback, and then subsequently we'll have announcements. So housekeeping, take on. Housekeeping is for us to name. We want to thank you for joining us for this session today. Housekeeping, we should remember to please name our devices, because some of us have the phones on it because we want to identify you, we want to contact you, and to inform you that we're on a new platform from today, so we're all learning. It's called ECHO platform. We are still trying to perfect it, but it's a better one than what we've been using before, and we hope to be able to continue this. Where I can see that we have participants from Canada, from UK. I'm not sure if UK has joined. And of course, most of us are here from Africa. So it's going to be enriching and interactive session for all of us, hopefully. So now I want us to now introduce our senior colleague, a very, very senior colleague, clinical microbiologist, an infectious disease physician, who has been a teacher, where he's been a teacher all his life. And
Hello, Dr. Shawale. Can you hear us, Mike? It looks like.
We can't hear you.
sir, you're welcome, sir.
Okay. I can see you now.
Yes, sir. I was hiding before.
Prof Rotimi, I think you can go ahead now to share your screen.
I'm sure he's trying to do that.
So, am I on?
We are waiting to see your screen, sir.
You want to see my
Screen.
okay. No. Where's my
Share screen. Is at the bottom. It's green with an arrow. Share screen. Okay, sir.
okay? It says share.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking for my. Where has it disappeared to? Oh, taking me back all the way. Says sign in, but I've already signed in. What's it doing?
Okay, sir. I think what we
Maybe you should send the slide to Lekon.
Yeah, I can't find my slide because I put my slide on the
Desktop.
yeah,
Please,
on the
sir, if you can
desktop,
send the slide to Lekon.
yeah.
You can send the slide to Lekon. And then he can share for you, sir.
That's interesting. Okay. It says I should launch a meeting.
No, don't click on that, sir. Just you can share your slides with me via email, and I'll share it up for you there.
Yes, I'm looking for the file actually. Okay. Yeah, this is the file on my desktop.
Please just attach it and send it to Lekon, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So, I don't know.
So that you just talk to it, sir. Yes, sir.
I don't know how to do that.
Hello, Prof. One thing you may want to do is to minimize or close this page you have.
Okay,
because
I've
it's
seen it.
blocking your desktop. Okay, sir.
I've seen it.
Okay, good.
That's it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir.
You want to put it
Yes,
on slideshow?
Okay, that's it.
Yes, sir.
Very well, sir.
So I should start.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. All right. If you don't mind, I would switch off the camera to have a look at me. I will bring it back later.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Oshun, for inviting me as usual. This is the second time in 1 month. You know, I'm getting popular with you. Dr. Showande and I go far beyond infectious disease and infection control. We're a member of the same church, and we see from time to time there. Thank you for the organizers, for inviting me. My talk will be an overview, a very simple one, actually. There's no high power stuff at all in it. We'll go through it, and then we'll see how it resonates with the audience. So the outline of what I want to talk about, starts with, what is monkeypox? Okay, and I will briefly describe the characteristics of the monkeypox virus and mention a few outbreaks. I'm not going to mention the details. Then the global response, clinical presentation, mitigating features, management, and then conclusion. The monkeypox belongs to a group of pox viruses. There are about 6 of them. They all have morphologically similar appearances, but antigenically different. These poxes, they are enveloped, viruses. They are oval in shape and brick, shaped virus. measuring about 250 to 350 nanometer by 200 times 250 with surface tubes. Now, can I get this? There's something that is impeding on my side here. I got it.
Okay, sir.
So they are double-stranded DNA, dome-shaped core, and DNA-dependent RNA polymerase. Now, for those of you who are interested in molecular, stuff, that might be interesting to you. But for those of you who are only interested in, control this, well, it's just an additional information. They replicate in the cytoplasm and grow in tissue culture, producing cytopathic effects, which are characterized by syncytial formation and intraplasmic and intracellular inclusion bodies. This is how we identify them in tissue culture, okay, when we grow them in tissue culture. And they grow in embryonated egg, producing typical effect that we use in identifying them. This is not popping up.
Just go on, sir. Nice, sir.
Are you seeing my slide over there?
Yes, sir. We're seeing it.
Okay, all
Just
right.
go on, sir. Yes,
Because
sir.
there are pop-ups that are disturbing my view here. But as long as you can see them over there, that's fine.
Yes, sir.
So now we go to monkeypox, which is one of the 6 pox viruses we've mentioned. Okay, it is a zoonotic, virus of the oxapoxvira, group, and that's the infection they cause. Okay, all the 6 are called oxapoxvirus. Currently, an infection of global concern. In other words, before, I think about 2 years ago, it was Canada that first said, oh, we got some cases, 1 or 2 cases of monkeypox, and they were coming from Nigeria. Nobody paid attention, and then gradually we started seeing evidence that yes, Nigeria, and I remember my colleagues in Nigeria too got really mad that they have started again. They wanted to stigmatize Nigeria, but as a matter of fact, what they were saying is correct. And we would, briefly go through that later. Transmission is usually by close bodily contact. That's important, for you to acquire this infection. You have to be in close contact with the person who is infected, for you to get infected yourself. And the pathogenesis is similar, to that of smallpox, okay? But however, secondary spread of this infection does not occur. Just, unlike your smallpox and chickenpox, we don't see that. So why is it called, monkeypox? It's called monkeypox because it was first described in colonies of monkeys brought from the Democratic Republic of Congo in 1958 to the Serum Institute for Research in Copenhagen, Denmark. Okay, and then this virus was then reported in humans 12 years later. That was when it became apparent that this can be a zoonotic infection. At that time, between 1958 and 1970, nobody thought that this monkeypox could actually be transmitted to humans, until it occurred in 1970. So what do we have around? What's the preamble occurrence? Let's start with Nigeria, for instance. Nigeria reported its first case, about 2 cases in 1971. One of them was a 4-year-old boy that had never been vaccinated for smallpox. And then the next case was in 1978. After that, there was nothing. It was completely quiet in Nigeria until September 2017, when there was a re-emergence of monkeypox. But in December 2018, 132 confirmed or probable cases had been recorded in Nigeria. That is, by December, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 132 confirmed cases with 7 deaths, bringing the case fatality rate to 5.3%. That's rather high. Although when you look at that figure, you say it's low, but any death is high as far as concerned. As of now, that is 2022, we have more than 300 cases that have been reported with 4 deaths. All these deaths occurring only in 2022. So we don't know what's going to happen, next year. And when you look at the long list, state by state, where this monkeypox is prevalent, Lagos State stopped the list, just like it did with the COVID-19. Throughout the outbreak of COVID-19, you would have known or seen that Lagos State was top, throughout. And the same thing is happening here. So it's following a particular epidemiological pattern, which I believe that the public health people should take note of. So next on this list is Akwa Ibom, Delta, Kogi, Tariba, and Ondo. So far, as I know, there might be more figures given by Dr. Phillips later. These are the 6 states that have monkeypox as of now. That is where monkeypox has been reported. Now, other countries, where monkeypox have been, which are pertinent, because we all travel, and Nigerians travel a lot, and they go to US, UK, everywhere. Okay, so now let's take US for instance, where we have a big problem of monkeypox right now. The first case was reported outside Africa continent in 2003, where 47 cases were linked to wild animals that were shipped to US for paid trading. Okay, and they were mostly from Nigeria. Okay, in UK, their own first case was reported in 2018. They confirmed 2 cases, in that month. Then Israel followed, October 2018, confirmed 2 cases. Then Singapore, 1 case. Then Singapore, May 2019, 1 case. Now, but what is interesting regarding all this is that all were associated with travel to Nigeria. So is Nigeria an epicenter? We need to find out. Okay, this is a very useful information for those who are interested in epidemiology. Now, let's continue to look at the statistics. As of August 2020, 7,000 cases of monkeypox globally. Of these, 17,000 are in the US. And funny enough, all the 50 states of the US have recorded at least 1 confirmed case. So it's prevalent in the US. No state is exempted. All the 50 states have been incriminated. Particularly in the Washington DC, for instance, it is very high, in Washington DC. Most cases are males at birth. What that means is that when you are born as a male, okay, not the transgender, you go and cut off your hair and you change your. So when you are born, amongst this, 99%, reported male-to-male contact. In other words, a male person is a risk factor. Okay, and then men who sleep with men, that is the gay people, and transgender females were disproportionately affected by monkeypox, against gravitating towards males. Okay, what is in males that attract monkeypox, we have not found out yet. And it can impact any community. However, I should let you know that it is not exclusively a sexually transmitted infection. Okay, although STD plays a significant part in its transmission. So when the WHO looked at this picture, coming from the US, UK, and all the other countries, then the Director General declared on July 23rd, 2022, that the multi-country outbreak of monkeypox is a public health emergency of international concern, PHEIC. Now, this PHEIC constitutes the highest level of global public health alert under international health regulations. So bringing the awareness of monkeypox to that level, shows that we may be heading towards pandemic, but it's not there. And I don't think it's going to get there. That's my opinion. I mean, other opinions can, dispute that. But I don't think we are going to get to that point of pandemic like we are with COVID-19. He also mentioned in that declaration that enhanced coordination, cooperation, and global solidarity will help in reducing, this new phenomenon and help us tackle it. So coordinated response, he said, can stop transmission and protect vulnerable groups. And as a result, they formed a committee, a special committee that went straight into action. And they have produced a very, very useful, book or minutes of meetings and recommendations, which I will advise all of you to read at your own time. It's WHO 2022. If you just type WHO 2022, it will pop up. Then there is also mentioned that animal reservoir is not yet known, although the suspicion is that there's a reservoir and it's likely to be small rodents. So then what's the mode of spread? How does it spread? We already know that it spreads from animals to humans. That's why it's zoonotic. But also physical contact with infected animals, such as non-human primates, terrestrial rodents, antelopes, gazelles, tree squirrels, bites and scratches of these animals, if they are infected, can get you infected. And this is what you get during some habits, some practices, okay, which people do in groups, in communities, like hunting, skying, or trapping, or cooking together, okay, or playing with carcasses. Okay, this can make you become vulnerable, to this infection if you come in contact with contaminated or infected animals, those that are mentioned, here. Eating non-properly cooked infected animal is also an important, mode of spread. Human to animal spread, however, is under investigation. We are not sure about that as of now. Well, there's no evidence that you can spread monkeypox by blood donation or transmission. So far, there's no evidence. They've tested a lot and they have come with nothing so far. Now, past exposure to chickenpox is not protective. So if you have chickenpox, because it belongs to the pox virus, does not make you non-vulnerable. You can still get it. And antibodies that are detected, from these people are not specific anyway, so they cannot protect you. Now, what is the monkeypox case and contact definition? Now, this one I took from the NCDC, that is Nigerian Control of Infection in Abuja, booklet. Okay, there's a very nicely written booklet on this, produced by the NCDC, which I will also encourage you to, to take up and go through. So I took this from that book and I thought it makes sense. Okay, they divided the case and contact definition into 4. The first is suspected case. Who are those that are suspected? Okay, they are those with acute illness with fever of greater than 38.3 degrees centigrade, who has intense headache, lymphadenopathy, particularly the cervical and the inguinal regions, severe back pain, myalgia, and intense dyspnea. Okay, followed more than 1 to 3 weeks later by progressively developing rash. Okay, that starts from the face. Remember, at this prodromal stage, there's no rash. Okay, the patient is just very sick. Okay, with very high fever, headache, lymphadenopathy, and so on and so on. Very weak, can only move. Okay, and then a week later, this rash develops that starts from the face and then moves from the face to the extremities. Okay, in a centrifugal manner. All right. When you see this, you are actually facing monkeypox. The second definition is a probable case. That is a case that meets the clinical definition with no laboratory confirmation, but has an epidemiological link to a confirmed case. So it's probable until you have confirmed it by laboratory tests. It has to be probable. Confirmed case means clinically compatible case that is laboratory confirmed. Okay, you are proven by clinical examination that this might be monkeypox. And you have also gotten result back from your lab that confirms that. Now, contact, which is a very important aspect, of the control of this infection, is that any person who has been in direct or indirect contact with confirmed case since onset of symptoms. That is, you have been in close contact with somebody from the time you started having fever, headache, myalgia, and so on. So those people you have to fish out and follow up. Now, so what's the clinical manifestation? Okay, now I've told you about the definition of probable case, confirmed cases, suspected cases. But if you are going to make a diagnosis of monkeypox, then you have to look at the patient, individually. Now, there's no difference between the presentation of a patient that has smallpox, from a patient that has monkeypox. However, the severity and mortality are not much lower with monkeypox than smallpox. So that's number one. With smallpox, the patient is really very sick. With monkeypox, it's usually mild. Okay, and it's characterized by fever, and just to repeat what I've said before, and tiredness. In some cases, pruritus, like the patients that we see in Nigeria, for instance, they have pruritus in addition to all this. Okay, I didn't put that down because they seem to be, peculiar with the Nigerian case. Okay, they have intense pruritus. And in addition to that, they have lymphadenopathy that involves the cervical and inguinal lymph nodes. Okay, when you can elicit all this in any patient, then you have arrived at a clinical diagnosis of monkeypox.
101 years.
Now,
please, can you mute your mic, please? Ekon, can you mute those people? Okay, sir.
Yeah. Now, the illness itself, like I said, is mild to moderate in severity. Although it can lead to medical complications and even death, as we have seen. Okay. Ada, you are disturbing me. yeah, so like I said, you can see death. See in the previous ones that were reported in Nigeria, for instance, the case fatality rate was 5.3. Okay, that's high. Some people can say it's low, but to me it's high. Any death is high as far as I'm concerned. In most cases, however, it is self-limiting. In other words, it goes away. Okay, like when you have diarrhea after salmonella infection, it will go away. You don't need to give any antibiotics. You just rehydrate. The same thing with this. Okay, self-limiting, and it goes away. Now, when the patient had that fever for about 1 to 3 weeks, that's when this rash develops. And this rash is important in making your diagnosis. Because of what? Stars spreads from the face, okay, to the rest of the body in a centrifugal manner to the extremity. Okay, it progresses from maculopapular rash, that is a flat base rash, to vesicles, okay, that contains fluid, and then becomes pustular, and then cross. When it crosses, the scalp drops off, okay, and you have a surface scar there. Now, all these stages are infectious, okay, from the maculopapular rash to the time that it forms crust and drops off, very infectious. They contain the virus, okay, and and you have to be careful with that. But the scab left behind, the sub, is not. That one is clear. And all these, lesions are usually at the same stages of development in any particular area where they get to before they move away. Okay, so the sizes, the shape, they are almost similar. Okay, in any area where they get to, and then they move on to another area. This shows very well in this white skin, person, where you can see the crops. Okay, my cursor is not moving. Okay, you can see crops here. They are on the same shape, same stages. Okay, here, the same stages. Okay, and that's it. That differentiates them from the rest of the rashes that you get from other pox viruses. Now, in a black, skin, you can see the pustules. Okay, the vesicle filled with pus. Okay, and this is very diagnostic. You see them in some in the palm, and then in the hand, extreme to the hand, and then sometimes in the legs and in the sole. So who is at risk of contracting smallpox? Like I said, men who have sex with men, that is gay people, newborn babies, children, immunodeficient individuals, those who live with or in close contact with infected, give people, home caregivers, that is those who go to homes to look after elderly people, okay? These are some group of nurses that do this, okay? Healthcare workers, particularly those that are not adhering, to the infection control practices. Pregnant women been shown to be very vulnerable, to this infection. Now, how do we manage this risk? One is vaccination, okay? But so far there's no specific vaccine against smallpox. Sorry, against monkeypox. But we do have vaccines against smallpox that have been now approved to be used for monkeypox. Okay, they were licensed before for smallpox, but now they have been used on a trial basis, to use against monkeypox. Then we need to reduce and avoid behavior that increases monkeypox exposure. We need to abstain from risk exposure until 2 weeks after the second dose of the vaccine. That is, for those who took vaccine, please avoid, risk of exposure for at least 2 weeks after the second dose. Avoid kissing if that is possible, but that's advisable. Limit the number of sex partners. Wearing clothes or fetish gear during sex, like wearing leather jackets and all that. This is just to prevent intact or body contact. Okay, to prevent you from having serious body rubbing against each other, just in case you have the lesion at that time. So social behavioral communication and equity research also needed.
Please turn off.
Echo, can you please mute these people that are talking?
Yeah, so we also need this research, to help us in our risk management. I will also refer you to CDC. Who is this Ronald Joseph? Is disturbing me?
Echo, can you please mute them if they won't mute themselves? Admin. Sorry, sir.
Okay. All right. So now on this this topic, I will refer you to CDC Safer Sex Guidelines 2022. Please take that and peruse, and you will probably understand better what I've just said. Then how can I protect myself and others? Okay. Well, I think it's simple. Avoid unprotected contact with the wild animals, especially those that are sick or dead. Any food containing animal parts or meat should be cooked thoroughly. Keep yourself involved about monkeypox in your area or in your social group. That is important. Talk to yourselves. Okay? Somebody has a rash, to ask questions regarding the rash. Has you seen a medical practitioner, to help you make a diagnosis? Especially these days that the thing is growing and expanding, in scope in Nigeria. These are pertinent questions that you should ask your friends when you are in a social group. Have an open conversation with those who come in close contact about symptoms you may have. So if you have symptoms, let them know. Oh, for the past 3 days, I've been having a headache, this and that. Or the headache has stopped, but I have this rash. Speak out. Some of them might be knowledgeable. You'll be amazed, and can tell you, probably this is what you have. This is the person you need to see. Now you have to clean your hands frequently with soap and water or alcohol-based hand rub. We did this effectively during COVID-19. I don't see why we cannot do that even now. Okay, although these are habits that after some time you get tired and become fatigued. Okay, but if we're going to stop the epidemic, then we have to go back to doing this. So frequently clean and disinfect commonly touched surfaces in the environment. Again, we did that during COVID-19. There's nothing new about it. These are all common sense, approach, to preventing infection. Common household disinfectant or bleach is enough to kill monkeypox virus. Okay, we already know that. If you think you have monkeypox, seek medical advice and isolate from others until you have been evaluated and tested. This is important, and you have to be honest with yourself, okay, that you do not want to spread what you have to others. So you have to tell a medical practitioner, what you have. Care is needed. Care needed is dependent on the severity of symptoms and risk of more severe disease. Yes, okay, that's when you have already reported. Okay, so appropriate care will be meted out, to you. Positive cases should follow the advice of healthcare practitioners. Symptoms typically last 2 to 3 weeks and usually go away on its own. We've said that, or with supportive therapy, okay, like to give paracetamol, to reduce the pain and also to reduce the temperature, okay, paresthesia. Monkeypox positive cases should stay hydrated, okay, drink plenty of water, eat well, and get enough sleep. Those isolating should take care of mental health, doing things relaxing and enjoyable, stay connected. When you isolate yourself, you are maybe in a room, you don't allow your family to come in, you can start becoming neurotic, okay? You have to get out of this fast, okay? Because that may be more serious than the infection you have. So try and do things that will relax you. You can watch television, you can watch films, not the scary ones, that will relax you and that are enjoyable, to you. Avoid scratching of the lesions, because by doing that, you are spreading and you get secondary bacterial infection, which might be, very serious. Keep skin dry and uncovered. Saltwater rinses can be used for sores in the mouth, and warm bath with baking soda and Epsom salt has been shown to be helpful. And then you give paracetamol to manage the pain. Now, what are the mitigating features of age? The most vulnerable are the newborn babies, the children, immunocompromised patients. Okay, so if we can avoid getting them near infected cases, then we would have saved many of them from a catastrophe. The region is also important. Now, I don't believe that coming to Nigeria is a risk factor, but definitely going to America, particularly Washington, D.C., San Francisco, is a risk factor, okay? Particularly when you go to downtown and you mix with people. There are so many different nationalities in downtown D.C., okay? And you are mixing with them. If you get in close contact, you might get infected. So therefore, the region is important. Okay, this time, the table is turned on those, from the US, if you are listening to me. It's no longer a reverse mode that everything comes from Africa. The problem now is in the US and the UK and in Europe.
Yes, sir, I'm sorry to cut in, sir. Our time is running out, sir. Time is running out because we still have 2 more presentations.
Okay, how many minutes do I have left?
I know you almost finished, sir. Thank you, sir. No, you have to finish, but we have to wrap up quickly.
Okay,
so that
right.
we can. Yes,
okay,
sir. Thank you, sir.
I've almost finished.
Yes, sir.
Give me about 2 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so mitigating factor, sexual relationship, race, educational level, animal household income, and then oral sex in non-primary. Okay, complications, these are the complications you can get from this version. Secondary skin lesions, pneumonia, confusion problem, proctitis, painful, difficult menstruation, and mortality is about 1 to 10%. Laboratory diagnosis, I'm not going to waste your time, but just to remind you, there are 2 variants of Monkeypox virus. The ones we get in West Africa, which produces milder disease, and the one we get from Central Africa, which produces more severe. We use PCR and tissue culture for it. What is the treatment? There's no specific treatment of us, like I said, but tecovirimat, used for smallpox, have been licensed, to be used, for this case. Another one is cidofovir, which is also very useful. Vaccines, we have 3 types of vaccines. Okay, the first 2 are used for managing smallpox, but they have now been licensed, to be used for monkeypox. They provide valuable levels of protection, and but I need to let you know that mass vaccination at this time is not recommended. So the conclusion, control measure intensified surveillance, isolation and care of confirmed cases, thorough sample collection, strict adherence to standard, control precaution, and then risk communication and social mobilization. So in conclusion, Mrs. Chairman, the monkeypox is a zoonotic infection, can be transmitted by close contact, skin to skin and sexual contact, mostly affects men who sleep with men, transgender, newborn babies, children, and immunocompromised patients. And infection usually mild to moderate and self-limiting, occurs at epidemic proportion in the US and Europe, but not yet in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, sir. Thank you, sir. This is very, very interesting. Whilst we are getting down, he's going to stop sharing his screen. We're going to get Dr. Philip Oshun to just share with us, to just wrap up on the...
Sorry, I went through.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. That was really, really refreshing and educating. The global and the local updates. So Dr. Philip, our erudite virologist, clinical microbiologist, and the secretary, I hope you're sharing your slides, or Deacon is doing it for you. He was secretary of the just concluded, don't let me waste too much time, is well known to us. Can we have the global and local monkeypox outbreak from Dr. Philip Oshun?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
I'd just like to continue from where Prof stopped. Thank you very much, Prof. Global and local monkeypox outbreak updates. Okay, historical perspective that was first discovered in the Republic and the endemic in African countries, mainly in the West and Central African regions. We see here Nigeria tops the list. So there's Democratic Republic of the Congo, and there's also Republic of the Congo. So don't get confused. This is the this Congo Zaire. Ebola was also discovered 4 years after the monkeypox. That was in 1974. Cameroon, Liberia, Ghana, and the Central African Republic. So the origin of this present outbreak was in May 2022, when countries started to report monkeypox in areas where it is not endemic. When Prof showed us a slide about monkeypox in different countries outside of Africa, we saw that a lot of almost all were linked to travel from Nigeria. But for these cases, they found that the travels were to North America and Europe rather than to West and Central Africa. So that showed that there was something unusual about it. And so that was the first time there had been monkeypox cases and clusters reported in non-endemic countries, not linked to travel from an endemic country. And a lot of the cases were identified through sexual health services, and they mainly involved men who have sex with men. So on the 23rd of July, the DG of the World Health Organization declared a global public health emergency of international concern as the monkeypox outbreak. I remember that in 2009, the H1N1 influenza pandemic was reported as a global public health emergency of international concern. I remember Zika virus and also recently COVID-19 2020. So that's the highest level of public health alert for any disease. So right now, the total number of cases as at 6th of November That was on Sunday. 17,924 laboratory confirmed cases, 42 deaths in 110 countries, areas, and territories. In the last 3 weeks, 59 countries have not reported any new cases. So case counts are going down. And the last week, 44, that's the last week of reporting. From 31st October to 6th November, we had 1,349 cases. You can see the epidemic curve from May, around May 13th. You can see that it started in Europe. Europe has the color for the European region. The WHO has 6 regions. So we started in the European region, followed by the region of the Americas, including the North and South America. You can see the rise, got to a peak, and then started to fall. The peak was around August. And we can also see the epidemic curve for different WHO regions. If you look at the one for Africa, you can see that a lot of spaces in between, up and down, goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down. Like in the Americas and European region, with consistent rise and fall. The least affected is the Southeast Asian region. And the map also shows us, you can see the whole of North America, that's USA and Canada, the whole US, that having over 1,000 cases. Lots of the area countries in South America, you can see Nigeria here, and the other endemic countries, Central African Republic, Cameroon, and Democratic Republic of Congo, Sudan, and these are the European countries that are badly affected. Spain, United Kingdom, France. These are the top 10 countries. The United States of America is topping, just like Prof said, it mimics the outbreak of COVID. COVID also, the highest rate was in USA, followed by Brazil. So USA is topping the list for this outbreak also. Over 28,000 cases spread all over the states, US, followed by Brazil, Spain, it's over 7,000, France, 4,000, and Canada, 10,406. So the 10 countries together make up about 86.3% of all the cases reported globally. Look at it by WHO region. You can see the region of Americas, including the North and South America, 52,272, 22 deaths. The European region follows closely with over 25,000 cases with 4 deaths. In the African region, 158 cases with 14 deaths. So even though the African region recorded about 1.2% of all the confirmed cases, about 33% of the deaths are from Africa, and about 63% or so are from the region of Americas. So you can see that in the Americas, about 66% of the cases are in America, and about 32% of the cases in the European region. So the WHO assessed the risk, and globally, the risk is moderate. In the region of Americas, that's the WHO region, it's high. Then in Africa, region Western Pacific and Eastern Mediterranean, it's moderate, and in Southeast Asia, it is low. So these are different epidemiological factors that have been noted in this outbreak. Almost all those who are affected are males, 97% of those affected are males, so just 3% are female. They are young, so they are young men. Median age is about 34 years, ranging from 29 to 44. Mentioned men who are men accounting for about 86%. The likely exposure settings, the party settings, having parties with sexual contact, 3%. Comorbidity, about half of those who are infected have HIV infection, and that's not too far-fetched because most of those who are infected are those who are men who are suspected. That's a major risk factor for HIV infection. Healthcare workers, 4%, but about 868 healthcare workers are affected globally, mostly through exposure at work. Travel history, about 18.8% give travel history. So the exact origin of this outbreak is not yet known why, but most likely this has been circulating for over a year before this outbreak is detected. In Africa, we said there are 958 cases. Nigeria accounts for about 63%, 624 as at 6th of November, 7 deaths. So we have the highest case fatality rate. Case fatality rate for Nigeria is about 1.1%. In the US, it's about 0.03%. In the European region, about 0.04%. So the case fatality rate is very high compared to many other countries. Ours seems to be the highest. In Ghana, 107 cases is also the high case fatality rate. Cameroon and then Central Africa. So all the top 5 countries account for 98% of all the infections in Africa. So we got for Nigeria, total number of confirmed cases, 624, deaths 7, and the last week, that's the week 44, that's October 31st to November 6th, 20 cases. So if you look at the epidemic curve for the country, we see that we had a lot of cases in October. So a high peak of our cases so far. But of course, because it's an endemic country, we're having cases. We have cases all year round, not just because of this now. These are comparing suspected cases with confirmed cases from week 1 for this year to 44. So the ones in red are confirmed cases. So we have a lot of suspected cases. And told the diagnosis by PCR. So if you look at the different states, Lagos states is at the top. We can see that there was an outbreak in Nigeria in 2017. That's Monkeypox outbreak. And since then, that was the first time we started collecting data after a long time. Since the 70s, we started collecting data on Monkeypox. And you can see that there's actually an outbreak in Lagos. You can see in 2017 it was 4, 1 in 2018, 15 in 2019, and now we have not even finished 2022, and it's already 156 as at Sunday. So Lagos has the highest. In terms of this year alone, Lagos is followed by Abia, then Bayelsa. But cumulatively, since 2017, Rivers and Bayelsa come in next to Lagos, just about less than half of cases. You can see the different states. Ondo has 31, so it's also top on the list. Has never had any before. They had just for the first time this year. Let me say it was first detected this year. So it's based on number of tests that are done. Then these are the others. Then you can see that males are more affected, even in the country, 65% males. So in the endemic countries, the transmission is really not sexually related. So there's no, it's not from men who have sex with men. So you can see that globally, the females had 3%, but in Nigeria, because it's endemic, about 35% of females, 65% of males, and the age group that is most affected is 31 to 40 years. So you can see that the working age group, 31 to 50, are the most affected, just like during the COVID outbreak. We know also that during COVID, it was also male, about 65 to 70% male, and 30 to 35% female. This is for this year, the call for different states. Gambia, I will see this on the table before. Then if you look at local governments, because Alimo Shaw is top on the list. Ajerami, Ifelo, I don't know many of you live in Alimo Shaw. Ajerami, Abuja Municipal, close following Maya, Imo, Keja. So we can see the 7 deaths, one in Lagos, one in Delta, one in Ondo, one in Akwa Ibom, Taraba, Kogi, and Imo states. And this graph shows us, the map shows us, you can see some states have not reported any case. Kebbi, Sokoto, and also Chigawa.
And Ekiti.
Yes, Ekiti and then states are now reported. Yes, you can see dots around Lagos and also the dots in the south and some parts of the southeast. So, in summary, we've been able to discuss the updates in the globally, mainly in the region of Americas. The USA tops the list, followed by Brazil. Then in Africa, Nigeria tops the list with 624 cases and 7 deaths as at today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much for keeping to time. And I'm sure it's very interesting, very, very interesting to me. And I'm sure most of the participants too will find this very interesting, that, you know, the highest is America, followed by Africa. And of course, Nigeria is leading. And then the most populous local government in Lagos State has the highest number. It's very interesting. So, but you know, I have some questions in the chat box. I don't know who. Let's quickly, please, let's take the our spotlight, and then we'll quickly talk about. Or you can put your questions in the chat box so that everybody can. That was a well-researched paper. So can we have Tina Jacob Jamberlang from Jos quickly do a presentation, then we'll have a robust discussion. Thank you very much. I know you are one of our products. She's a nurse, although now she's an infectious disease specialist. Over to you. Don't let me take much of the time. Over to you, Tina.
Thank you very much, Ma.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an infection control nurse from Jos University Teaching Hospital, and I'm grateful for this opportunity. I will quickly be sharing about experiences concerning IPC, especially as it concerns the hand hygiene project we were asked to do from the advanced class to ensure patients have hand sanitizers at their point of care. And so, Jos University Teaching Hospital is situated in Jos Plateau State, North Central Zone. It's a tertiary health institution with 500 beds. And it's also a hospital where hand sanitizers are produced by the pharmacy department. They are the ones who usually produce, and then at the end, they also distribute hand sanitizers too. So concerning the selection of the ward, we were asked to select one ward, and then I decided to use the neurosurgical ward. My reasons were because in April, we had a breakdown, quite a number of wounds breaking down from Klebsiella species, from Pseudomonas aeruginosa, and some of those gram-negative organisms. And so we were given a referral, which we went, took swabs from the ward, and then we're able to talk with the nurses, even the doctors themselves, and see how we can bring it to the barest minimum. So, and then I also did a score using the WHO hand hygiene self-assessment framework, and then a total score of 230, which was on the basic level, was what I got. And it means we needed to do a lot of work to ensure that we reduce transmission of healthcare associated infections. So, and in the hospital, it's an open ward where we have 30 beds and then one hand hygiene station that's usually at the nurses' station, which is actually inadequate. And then I also noticed in the same neurosurgical ward that patients usually come with different hand sanitizers because they were not getting, the supply was not really adequate. And so we had to go discuss with the nurses, I and the infection control doctor. This is a picture of one of the discussions we had with the nurses. One of them is one of the link nurses for the ward. And so after I discussed, I also met their in charge and coordinator, discussed about it. And then they were excited when I said I wanted to start with their wards, and they promised to give me maximum cooperation. And so I had to identify my stakeholders, which were the CMD, CMAC, head of department, pharmacy, nursing, and then even the patient relatives too were part of my stakeholders. And so I met them, apart from the patient relatives, I met the stakeholders, each of them separately on an informal visit, and then told them about it. And I told them I'll be writing formally to them. And then after that, I met our CMAC, after which I wrote a proposal on the 11th of August, 2022, concerning the project. And I stated my plan of action. And then I copied to various heads of department, which I had identified as my stakeholders. Next slide, please. Okay, so this was one of the times I discussed with my IPC committee members, even though a lot of them, because of the short notice, quite a number of them were not present in the meeting, but then they were all excited and they pledged to give their maximum support. Next slide. So after that, I went back to have another meeting with the HOD in terms of how this budget will be and the supply to the patients, and then the payment mode, which of course we discussed, and then we agreed on the emergency drug revolving fund, since it's a central account that is being operated. And so because we want to have it continuously, we had to use that account. And so I had another meeting with the CMAC and the HOD nursing and pharmacy. On those dates, I wrote respectively on the quantity to produce and then the modalities to the production of the hand sanitizers, which was very successful. So this is the sample of the hand sanitizers, though I had proposed a 500 mils, but they gave me this at least to start with, which is not bad. It's a 200 mils hand sanitizer. So this is the sample of what was produced. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, let me just continue. So after this, so I had to go back to meet the coordinator of the ward to tell them, okay, this is how far we've gone already. And then we had to schedule a date for us to come from the infection control unit to meet with the patient relative, because they have to understand the reason why they should buy hand sanitizers. And then even the nurses themselves, because I observed at some point we needed to remind them of hand hygiene, especially the techniques, and then not just them, even the doctors in the neurosurgical ward needed to know this was what was going on. So we did all of that. And then I actually had some pictures of different patient bedside and the hand sanitizers that they had bought. But the good thing about it is the first day we went and spoke to them, as soon as we were done, they started going to the pharmacy to buy the hand sanitizer, which was very good for us. And I can tell you categorically that by the end of the day, like we had half of the patients from that ward already who had purchased the hand sanitizer, because we told them the reasons and they appreciated the reasons why they should have hand sanitizer. So presently, it's ongoing, and then we are hoping that we're going to extend it to other wards. And at the same time, even though it has been a challenging journey, but then it's also an interesting one, because I kept being consistent. For each step, I make sure I follow up, and then I ensured that for anyone that needs to know, if I needed to see the person physically, I go physically to see the person, and then I keep updating them on whatever it is that we've been doing. So that is that about the hand sanitizer project. And we're hoping that by God's grace, we'll soon go to the next ward, because for now, it's been successful and we're doing well on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much. Although I had some internet challenge in between, but I know there has been some comments. That was really good, and thank you for your good work. And we have said a sense of 1,000, a journey of 1,000 steps starts with a step, but you are already going in leaps and bounds. Now we want to have comments and questions, reactions. I saw some comments before my internet went off before I came back. Somebody was saying that why is it in 2002 that monkeypox just suddenly picks up, where either Prof. Rotimi, if we have answers, or Dr. Philip Oshun. If we don't, but that is maybe food for thought. That could be an avenue for research to be able to explain that. I don't know if anybody wants to try. And there are other comments, but I know a lot of it have been appalling, these two great presentations. And of course, our spotlight on University of Jos University Teaching Hospital. So over to you. I don't know if we want to take all the questions together. Can you put up your hand and just talk? I don't want to do all the talking. Well done. I think we've really had a very fruitful day. I saw Mrs. Omishore. Do you want to say something? I saw Mrs. Omishore type something because I lost some of the, and she cared too. Yeah, over to you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody. Well done, everybody, Prof. Rotimi, Dr. Oshun, and Ms. Tina Jamberlang. Thank you very much. Whilst Dr. Oshun was speaking, he was, I think Prof, it was discussed that the variants that occur that there are two variants, one in West Africa and one in Central Africa. And the one in Central Africa is more severe. It causes more severe infections than the one in West Africa. But when we're looking at statistics, I noticed that in Central African Republic, and I think in the Congo, there were no deaths. But we had quite a few deaths in West Africa. I just wanted us to go through it and maybe find out why people having the less severe infection are the people dying, and those having the more severe infection, there were no deaths recorded. Thank you.
I think we should take all the questions together and then we'll react. Any more?
Okay, so I saw that in 2022, there was a great increase in the incidence rate for monkeypox virus cases. So I'm just curious to know what could have been the likely causes for that, because it actually went up in 2022. Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody else? Let's take those two questions while people are thinking about their comments and questions. Who wants to go first? Prof.
Yeah, okay. Can I attempt
the
first question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I picked that up too from Philip's presentation. that there were no deaths in Central, Republic of Africa, Central Congo, right? But in West Africa, there were more deaths. What was responsible for that? Especially as the strains that are supposed to cause infection in our region is, produces milder infection, than the ones from the Central Republic of Africa. Well, at this stage, it will be speculative. We need to do more work on that to find out the reason. Maybe the number is not big enough or something like that, but I cannot offer any specific scientific explanation for that at this point in time. We need to do more work on that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Oshun, do you have anything to say to that?
Yes, what I would just say is that for this outbreak, if we look, I don't have all the answers to start with. What I would be thinking of is, one, is that the West African plague has now been subdivided into two. And the reason for that subdivision is that we found that the recent outbreak, a lot of them are related to the West African plague. That's one. Second is that there's more sustenance of human-to-human transmission. Most areas where this virus has been endemic, it has been animal-to-human transmission, then human-to-human transmission. But for this outbreak, there's been a lot of sustained human-to-human transmission. So it is possible that some of the strains that have infected us in the West African region may have also come from outside of our region. That's the ones that have become that have the sustained human-to-human transmission. So there's a claim to A and B, and it seems that the B may be more virulent than what we had before, as the virus goes from one country to another. So that may be a possibility that the strains or the genotypes that we're seeing now may be different from what we used to find long before now. So that's what I would think of. But like the Prof said, a lot more genomic analysis needs to be done to be able to trace the phylogenetic virus.
This is very interesting discussion. There are a lot of things in the chat box. Somebody is asking, he's asking Prof, for a woman who is breastfeeding and she's infected of monkeypox, what does he think? What should be the intervention be? It's in the chat box. And then there's another question on testing. Well, that's responding to the question we're just talking about, testing and resilience to help. I think it's something for this state. It's not just looking at the case fatality and the severity of the infection. It's something that it has to be just like the responded. And then lastly, somebody said we had the monkeypox outbreak in 2018 in Luz. We learned somehow, but luckily you have the virologist here. We learned from someone from the Sahara forest. I can't read it well. In Bayelsa was killed. That killed a chimpanzee, and they roasted it and ate it. And this was the human to human. Was it animal to human? But that's interesting. I don't want to go into that. I'm sure you know about that case. So maybe we should just discuss this. First question to Prof on the woman breastfeeding. What should be the mode of prevention?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's the point. That topic actually, it's is not, the consensus is that they don't want to stop you from breastfeeding your child, but if you have an infection that is severe, you should try not to breastfeed and try to use other means of feeding your baby. But there's no evidence yet, of transmission through milk, of the mother, but Dr. Phillips can correct me on this. But the last that I read is that there's no restriction, on breastfeeding. Even if you are positive, as long as you can be careful, with the way you breastfeed your child. But in my own opinion, if you have severe infection, I think you should not breastfeed, because in that case, you are bound to have very close contact with your baby. I mean, when you put the baby on your abdomen, that's close contact, and you need to, to be able to avoid it as much as possible. That's a common sense approach. Now, I have no scientific, backing for that, but Philip, who is a virologist, can help us explain that better. Thank you.
So, Dr. Oshun.
Yeah, so just to react to that, like Prof said, it's transmitted by contacts, skin-to-skin contacts. So maybe the breastfeeding is not a challenge, it's the contacts, whether you are breastfeeding a child or not, as long as there's contact. So you want to avoid that, especially if it's a weeping lesion and it's a severe lesion, you have to avoid contacts with the child. So you might need to be able to try to express milk, because whether the child is being breastfed at that age, the child is very vulnerable. So the transmission is not from the breast, but skin lesions, so skin to skin contact. To react to the, like I mentioned, the person who talked about chimpanzee, I'm not sure whether it's chimpanzee, but I know that the outbreak 2017-2018 started from animal to humans, and then from human to human transmission. And that's been the case in Africa, in the endemic countries, as opposed to this outbreak. This outbreak has been human to human transmission. And someone asked, why did this outbreak start in 2022? A lot of the evidence has been gathered, a lot of people feel that this infection has been, the transmission has started for a year or more. It's only that it was discovered this year, because the fact that there was no travel history related to Africa or to the endemic countries in West and Central Africa means that this disease would have been, transmission would have been ongoing before that May 2022 when it was first discovered. It must be that people were not looking out for it, and maybe because now it was more evident in men who had sex with men, and they were always going to health centers because they always go for clinics. For HIV, so most likely that may have been the case before it was discovered in 2022.
The other question says, these are reported cases. Please, is there anything in place to track cases that didn't get to the government health centers?
We know that NCEC has issued public health advisories for the past 3 to 6 months to alert healthcare workers on to have a high index of suspicion for monkeypox. So it's not only in government hospitals that the diagnosis can be made. Once the diagnosis is made, then we contact the epidemiology units in the states or at the local government level, TSNO, disease surveillance notification officers, local government. All the healthcare workers, whether doctors or nurses, at all levels, whether private or public, know how to link up, especially after COVID, how to link up with the states if there's any reported cases of a disease of epidemic proportion like this. So it's not only, the diagnosis is not only from state hospitals, that's not correct. Diagnosis would be from every healthcare facilities, as long as we have that can suspect and then notify the appropriate authority. And we have presentations like this in different forums, so it's an opportunity to also inform those who may not have it.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Oshun, and I'm sure this is very, very useful. But I had one observation. I know that the data you got is from NCDC, and I'm just wondering why Enugu, Ekiti, Kebbi, Sokoto, Jigawa are free of monkeypox. Is there something? But I want to see that map again. No, it's very interesting. I just hope it's not that they are not reporting or their surveillance is not very good. Or is it that they are so perfect that not even one case? I'm jealous.
Like you said, maybe they are not reporting. We know what happened during COVID, that Kogi State had no report of COVID. So maybe I really don't know. NCDC may be able to offer information because since outbreak, all samples are sent to, unlike COVID, where tests are done in all states. But for monkeypox, the samples are sent to the central lab at Abuja.
Yeah.
So it depends on what states are sending samples or not.
I want to just say thank you. It's just good to at least, when we talk, we know we don't have an epidemic yet. And what we're trying to do is strengthen our system. We had a beautiful presentation from Jos University Teaching Hospital to ensure that, our prevention and mitigating factors are well taken care of, so we don't really blow it out of proportion. I want to believe that this is a very, very interesting session. Please give us your feedback so that we can improve the sessions. We still hope, although we are almost getting to the end of it, but we still hope to continue. We're looking for funding to be able to continue these sessions. It is once a month. It's meant to be last Thursday of the month. I know there is a bit of changes, but we'll try and see what will happen next. But I want to ask those of us that are university that this ECHO is a special one that can be done even at your own local level if you want to train. Maybe if you have outreaches that they cannot come to the teaching hospitals, it can be used and you can link up with the NSIC once we set it up properly. This is our first session on this new platform, and then we can do analysis, we can do a lot with it. And then with this monkeypox, we don't have it yet, but it's good to know what is happening around us and mitigate. I want to thank everybody. The next session, I cannot really give you a date because we are not, we have deviated from our last Thursday, but we'll see what happens, whether we can sit it the last Thursday in November or December is a very busy month. I know people travel, but we'll see what happens. But please ensure that before you log off, you do the feedback. It is very, very important to us. We want to thank you all for your time and to say big thank you to our Prof. Rotimi and our dear Dr. Philip Oshun for that beautiful presentation. I wish we can have it on our website so that people can, if you give us your permission, because I'm told, we need to take permission so that the other people can go and scale it down, because that's the way it should go, so that we can spread this word and prevent. This is offshoot of what is happening at the Center for Infection Control and Patient Safety. But there was something about health workers, and I think that is catching my occupational health, because we tend to care for patients but at the same time, we need to ensure that we are safe. So we will try and bring another beautiful topic that we interest, but if you want to give us suggestions, you are welcome, so that we can have something that will pertain to as we plan for the next session. On that note, I think we really, except there's any pressing issue from anybody, but please do the feedback and give us your suggestion in the feedback so that we can make it better. Thank you very much. I so much appreciate you. Is there anything hot? Apart from the feedback, I think it's, we are really playing to time. My timekeeper?
Yes, we're just on time.
Yeah, so please do the feedback, Dr. Oshun, I appreciate you. And Prof, I'm on my knees, sir.
You got it.
Yes, sir. So please, let's do the feedback.
Sure.
And please let us utilize this ECHO, because it doesn't have to come centrally like we do now, finding all over. You can use it to train your house officers. You can use it to train the outreaches. Just let us know, get in touch. Once you are a financial member, you have to be a financial NSIC member. And I don't know if Tekon wants to say something about membership dues. Oh, we round up.
Right, thank you very much. Hamad, could you please stop recording?
Pardon?
Yes, sure.
Thank you.